I've been telling you for a decade about all the wide open business opportunities in frontier and emerging economies all around the world. And so people are often asking me, what's the best business to start if I go overseas? Today, I'm going to give you some of my thoughts. And so I think that the kinds of people who'll be asking this question are perhaps you have a job, or you have a freelance gig, or you even have a business in your own country right now, but you can't move it. If you have a business you can't move, I would challenge you to think about, can you bring in management, and can you just live overseas, reduce your taxes, pay some taxes in the country where you're living, and just let the business run its course. But if you have a income source that you can't take with you and you want to move overseas, you may say, hey, I'm not going to get a job in some emerging market economy. Let me start a business. Let me make this my moment. You also have people like myself who sold businesses in Western countries and wanted the next adventure and wanted to be part of growth somewhere else. So I'm going to talk to those kinds of people. What I always suggest people do when they're talking about starting a business is first asking, are you an entrepreneur? Because not everybody is. And so if you are in the category of, I've got a job, I want to quit, I want to go and live in some other country because it's an adventure, or I see it as a chance to lower my taxes or make more money or have a better lifestyle, some people may be better off being investors. And so if you have, certainly, you can invest very little money into many businesses and start them in a way that you can't just start an investment portfolio of nothing. But I certainly think some people are better investors than entrepreneurs. And I think that it is ego for a lot of us who think like, I'm a great entrepreneur, so I must be a great investor, or vice versa. A lot of people who are better investors think they can be entrepreneurs and should stick to investing, and vice versa. So ask yourself what your personality type is. Now, that being said, I'm going to give you my thoughts on what business that I would start overseas, and I'm going to go in two different directions. If it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson. I'm the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We are a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best, lower taxes, diversifying and protect your assets, being free in an unfree world with things like second passports. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. We've got a big event called Nomad Capitalist Live we host every year, open to everybody, including if you're just starting out and want to learn our stuff. And so I think for a lot of people, the best business to start overseas is one that's not really overseas at all. If your goal to move overseas is, I'm tired of paying so much in tax, I'm tired of the weather in my country, I'm tired of the fact that freedoms are eroding in my country, whatever kind of financial or freedom or lifestyle reasons are driving you, you may be better off just simply starting some business that lives in the cloud, starting an online business, starting a virtual business that can be run from anywhere, and then taking advantage of the fact that if you move overseas, you can choose a tax-friendly country, you can live wherever you want, and that's going to broaden your horizons a lot more, rather than trying to find the exact place where you're going to start a business. If, on the other hand, you want to be part of this new, bold world that we live in, and you want to, like me, I always enjoyed being in Asia for many, many years because I enjoyed seeing how the world was changing before my very eyes. The construction cranes, just the progress that's happening in Asia dwarfs what you'll see in many places in the world. So if that's you, then let's talk about what you could start, and then I'll come back to the online businesses in a moment. So some countries are open for business, but they're more about like oil and gas and stuff that the average person is not going to start. I was in a meeting with a certain Balkan country, and they were like, hey, we're looking to raise €1 billion for this pipeline. And I'm like, yeah, I have a few billionaires that I've worked with, but like, I'm not working with folks who want to invest €1 billion for a pipeline. Like, they couldn't really understand. And so a country like that is probably not one that's going to be as interesting. One thing that people do overseas is they'll open up franchises. I can tell you, spending part of my time in Malaysia, certainly you see things like McDonald's always doing well. The challenge is, a lot of the top franchises are often awarded on a country level. So I remember I was in Vietnam a while ago when they opened up all the McDonald's in the country. Maybe there were 80 or something to start. And it was all given to one guy. And there were some ideas that he was politically connected, I think is the case. And so big franchises like that, big companies like that are not coming in and saying, hey, why don't you buy one McDonald's? I've worked with folks who own McDonald's, and they obviously don't own every McDonald's in their country or their city or their state. And so those franchises aren't as widely available. What you'll see is kind of the second and third tier franchises, which I think are more challenging. So, Subway in Colombia always kind of looks to be struggling, right? I mean, A&W. When I saw A&W in Malaysia, it brought back all these fun memories of sitting with my father at the A&W drive-in where he grew up. But I don't think that it has that same nostalgia in a place like Malaysia. And so people get sold these franchises because, hey, it's working in the US, look at this. And people buy into that Americana, and I don't think it's necessarily the best thing to do. One thing I've talked about for a long time is real estate opportunities, because if you are starting a business that's light on capital, you can get into the real estate agency business. You set up a website, you create a system, you get some good cameras, and you can do, like, for example, what City Expert did in Serbia. Now, City Expert often sells real estate that's a bit more expensive than what we can find, and so when people come to us and say, I want to live in Serbia, I found this property on City Expert, we will often find properties that are 15% cheaper for them using Serbian language websites where, the one picture of the property is a cat sitting on the top of a kitchen cabinet. It's at a 32-degree angle and it's blurry, right? And so you can save money doing that. But obviously, a lot of people who are buying, marquee properties, the properties that you want to be selling if you're in the real estate business, are not looking to look at one blurry picture. They want the full experience. And so I certainly think in a lot of countries, I'm seeing people now that more people are moving to Georgia. I'm seeing the real estate industry pick up, but there's still a lot of opportunities there. You look at places like in Ecuador, again, Serbia, Portugal. I mean, obviously a lot of Western countries have it, but I can't think of that many countries where the real estate is that great. This is why we have an in-house real estate team that finds agents around the world that sorts deals with their ear to the ground, because you just can't go on and find properties in a lot of emerging countries. You want to go to a place like a Cambodia, you're driving around in the back of a motorcycle looking for signs in the local language. And so somebody could expand that to sell properties, perhaps premium properties to foreigners. It doesn't cost a lot of money to start. You'd have to hire some local staff. You'd have to bring your know-how. But if you have a talent for training people about, hey, here's how we sell real estate in the U.S., you're probably going to have a hard time selling, charging 5 or 6% commissions to sellers. But if you can bring people good buyers, developers might pay it. Developers do pay it. Certainly in countries where housing turnover is a lot slower, people maybe own their house for their entire life or even for generations, you're probably not getting 6% because they're not used to doing those transactions that often. But you can work with developers and more expensive properties, and that could be a business because it's desperately needed in many places. And I know many people in our audience are looking for property, and people have asked us to roll out a real estate service where we connect you with our network because it's just so hard to find people. Any business that you can spruce up. And so obviously, no matter where you go in the world, you're going to find, what I did. I couldn't find someone to clean my pool in the U.S. I bought a pool company. We packaged it up. We sold it about 18 months later. And so you can find lots of those businesses around the world. What I would caution you, for example, is I live in a building in Malaysia which has a pool service. They're squeezing the margins. I mean, places in Asia, for example, where there's a lot more manual labor, are going to squeeze those margins more than you would have with a pool service in Texas, for example, which I think was some of the highest margins when I remember reading some of the pool trades way back in the day. But there's plenty of businesses that you can spruce up and come and do that. I mean, any business with contracting. People complain about contractors. Oh, these Australians are so lazy. Oh, these Americans are so lazy. Yeah, the contracting business sucks everywhere. And so if you can be in air conditioning, if you can be in anything, again, there may be some countries where they're more looking to squeeze the margins, but I can tell you that some more developed emerging countries, more kind of middle income countries will pay if you can be there on time. There's always a market for that. You can start businesses that are very simple. So I've talked about the ice cream parlor example. The guy became a millionaire in Cambodia, just a business that doesn't exist. If you come to Malaysia again, being in the restaurant business is not a good business. They open and shut like nobody's business. But in a place like Cambodia, a guy was open, some brothers or some friends I think were able to open brown coffee, and they were able to be incredibly successful to where Starbucks was like debating whether either wanted to come. And some of the nicest Starbucks I've ever been to are in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, because they had to compete. You can't have some of these dingy-looking, trashy Starbucks like you see in Western Europe and North America. Nobody would go there. They have brown coffee and other companies to compete with. And so if you could start a really cool chain, one thing that I've seen that people have success with, and also some not have success with, is like the American diner. You're bringing something interesting. Now, do you want to be in the restaurant business? Probably not for a lot of people who are used to making 7 or 8 figures, but for someone who, hey, maybe you sold something, you just want to have a passion project, go and run an American diner. And there's so many ideas, but there are millionaire ice cream parlor developers. And so I wouldn't go the franchise route, I would start something else, right? I see that, the homegrown places in Southeast Asia, for example, much more successful than the Cold Stone Creamery, which started where I'm from in Arizona. A lot more traffic for the local places. So you could start your own business, you could spruce up something existing, you can get into the real estate space. Franchises are probably to be avoided if you can even get into that at all. And so any business you can start somewhere else. But here's the thing, right? You don't know how the local economy works. And so my suggestion to many people is, if you don't want the challenge, if you're relishing the challenge, relishing the adventure, you're looking to build something big, by all means do it. But if you just want the lifestyle benefits, if you want the tax savings, if you want to live somewhere else, live somewhere for living's sake, live in Malaysia, live in Panama, Live in wherever you want in the world. Live in Portugal. And structure your business somewhere else internationally, where then you can hire people either in one place or all over the world remotely and run e-commerce or Amazon store, drop shipping business. Obviously, those businesses have become somewhat saturated. We're seeing a lot of people selling out of those businesses now, but people are still starting new e-commerce brands, new Amazon stores. People are still doing drop shipping, perhaps in more elegant ways than before. Affiliate marketing. Can you start websites that sell products? Can you do some kind of offline affiliate marketing? Can you drive traffic to all kinds of offers? We've got a lot of folks right now who have very high dollar affiliate programs. They're selling very expensive stuff, whether it's water filters, whether they're driving people to play poker, whatever. Amazon, AdSense, can you create content and run ads on it? Obviously, more difficult. YouTube, for example, if you monetize your channel and you have US viewers, you're going to pay tax on that to the US, so it makes it a little bit harder. But affiliate marketing, we still have many people who are doing very well there. Expert businesses. So let's say you have a YouTube channel, you can do endorsements. We don't do that, but if you can endorse other businesses, do sponsorships, if you're an expert and can sell consulting, if you have some kind of expertise, turn your freelance business into an actual business. If you're an American and you want to go overseas, your tax structure is going to be better, not being a one-person expert business, but being an actual consulting firm. And so it's going to help you reduce your taxes, and it's obviously going to be more successful. Information businesses, e-learning, create books, create courses, create any kind of thing. Again, that's becoming a bit more elegant, I think, over time. People are more demanding. You can write books and sell them on Amazon. You can write your own books. I know people who do that. I also know people who hire out people to write books. They've written romance novels. You pay, one price. You can get these romance novels written for not that expensive. You upload them on Amazon. You build a series. You do some marketing. You're going to pay tax because it's a royalty income. But writing your own books or having someone write books for you and having an arbitrage opportunity. Creating a SaaS company, software as a service. What can you solve? If you can hire people overseas for cheaper development, you can do that. Subscription services. Look at something like the Dollar Shave Club. What can you do? Now, you want to, when your business is overseas, selling stuff that exists entirely in the cloud, like a service, consulting services, software, etc., is going to be more tax friendly than something that you're shipping necessarily, depending on where you're shipping it to. Software, they are rolling out new digital services taxes, but it's still easier. Lead generation. Can you drive leads? Can you get insurance leads? Can you create websites? Can you do any kind of way to get leads to other businesses and get paid a fee for doing so? So that's just kind of a sampling of what a lot of our clients do and many other businesses. Again, if you have a current business, you could just run that from overseas and keep the business where it is, offshore part of it, reduce the taxes somewhat. But for a lot of folks, the online business, the remote business is going to be easier because you don't want to have to go and say, I'm opening my business in Cambodia, and I'm going to figure out Cambodian labor rules and payroll tax. I think Cambodia is actually a relatively pleasant place to do it. But do you want to adapt to that? Do you want to learn on the fly? If you relish that adventure, by all means consider starting some local business. There are entrepreneurs who have that spirit. I don't know if at almost 38 years old I have that in me so much anymore. I would want to delegate a ton of it. I can tell you when I was 23, I would have loved that idea. And so if you're looking to start over, that could be a way to go. But for most folks, it's live where you want to live in a place that's tax friendly, incorporate a business that could be run anywhere in a tax friendly place, and then hire where you can find the best people. And as long as you do your proper tax and lifestyle planning on that, that's going to be a lot easier and probably a lot less frustrating for folks unless you really want to be a part of something that's innovative in a new up and coming market.